Hello and good day everyone! My name is Mary Joy Namoko. I, together with Miss Chris Rado and Jonah Namoko, we are Bachelor of Secondary Education, major in Social Studies. So we are your reporters for today. And our topic are references or preferences of the technology generation and developing basic digital skills. So, I am the first reporter and I will be sharing to you about the preferences of the technology generation. But before I will start my report, I will read first the objectives. So, at the end of the lesson, we will be able to identify the preferences of the technology generation and then discuss the developing basic digital skills, and we'll be able to conclude the connectedness of the preferences of the technology generation and the developing basic digital skills. Preferences of the technology generation. Imagine, how will it be like to be a student without the computer and the internet? Frustrating, although not every person in the world are aware of the current revolution being imposed by the ICT, particularly in the education. There is still a great number of students who rely on the internet as a source of useful information. Whenever a question is in mind, a modern student just simply sit in front of the screen, enter the case with just one click in a few milliseconds. Comprehensive answers are obtained. That's how technology helpfully assists learning nowadays. If it happens to cross our mind, how did our grandparents survive in their educational endeavors without even obtaining an idea of the existence of helpful technological aids like computers? Life back then must be really very patient and industry demanding. To come up with a full understanding on the variations in terms of preferences of the old generation and the new, let's have a concise elaboration of the latter's differences. So, as atong makita in our generation and the old generation, atong mag-compare ang kalainan in the field of education. Ang ato nga mga grandparents before, lahi ang ilang pamaagi sa ilang eskwela. Lahi ang pamaagi sa eskwelahan nga gitudlo sa ilaha. And in our generation, lahi usab ang ato nga pag-eskwela karon og ang gitudlo ang process sa pagtudlo sa school sa ato karon. So that would be the preferences of the technology generation during those days and our current situation. And now, I will be discussing those preferences of the technology generation. This topic taps on the preferences of the new generation students in terms of their styles in life, work, and leisure. It also talks about the things that older generations' preferences that are now obsolete and may not be applicable for today's generation. So, the old generation, ang ilang mga pamaagi, ilang mga styles nawala, na change or obsolete. So, now I will be I'll be sharing to you what are the preferences of the technology generation. So, it's very understandable na there is the changes during young generation and to this generation. That's sad to say, much of the good things enjoyed by the elder when they were students are no longer available to the new generation. So for example, gardening classes in which students engage in wide school grounds are no longer part of the school program. Diba, inyong nabantayan nga sa una, I also experienced that during my elementary days and also in high school. I experienced nga mag-gardening dito sa eskwelahan morning and also in the afternoon. Naami garden dito, naami gipang tanom any kind of plants amo tong i-cultivate, and then amo ato nga patubuon. And also naay activity sa school nga padaghanay og kinsay pinaka tambok nga unsa ba imong gitanom dinha, pinakadaghan nga natanom. So naay kuan kanang price, and then among pwede makautan dito, and then pwede pod mabaligya. But today, in today's generation, wala na gina-apply sa school. Lahi na ang pamaagi. So what we have observed, wala na kini nga gardening classes. And part of the school program like vocational, cultural, and values classes have also been minimized due to emphasis on the basic of English, mathematics, and science. So, the vocational, cultural, and values classes na minimize na siya tungod niini nga tulo ka subject nga mo na gi-emphasize og maayo kaning English, mathematics, and science. In the field of education, it is very important that critical differences in perception between old and young, which create generation gap, need to be discussed. Why? Because it is very important. We are trying to produce professionals for the future. So hindi pa atras, moving forward, knowing that our future are those technologically literate professionals. So we have to prepare those kind of professionals. So kay ang kita nga nagpuyo dinhi sa kalibutan, moabot ang mga panahon, the next generation magka-improve tungod sa mga technology. And now what we are facing today nga we live in the digital world. So mga digital learners na karon. And then ang ato po nga target is dapat mag-produce po tag mga professionals for the future nga mga technologically literate, ay kay para pod makahibalo sila ug unsa na ang mga panghitabo karon ug mo po na ilang matudlo in the future. So now I will be I will be sharing to you. I will be discussing those preferences one by one. First, first is single single and multi-track activity patterns. So in terms of from the word single, single ra siya, so wala siya kauban. So alone, single. So wala siya partner. Okay, so in the old generation has availed a slow and single track pattern of activities, while the new is actively enjoying the opposite, using the advanced technological tools that we have today. The possibility of serving two or more masters of the same time is becoming a real practice. So, in the old generation, availed of slow and single track pattern of activities. The old generation, our life has been comparatively slower for oldies as they watch and follow the television, telenovelas, like katong mga Pangako Sa'yo, mga Walang Hanggan, diba, kung inyong mahinumduman na inaabangan kada gabi ato na siya nga abangan usa na po mga panghitabo. So pagkaugma excited kaayo ta ug usa na po sunod nga mga panghitabo. But muna giningon nga slow and single track patterns. And then the new generation is exposed to quick clicking video games, mobile phone, texting, socializing through the social websites, and downloading text, music, photos, video with adeptness and task switching speed. Saman. So ngayon, dali ra kaayo mag-download na lang kag Netflix, lahat ng episode ay nandoon na. Just only one day, tapos na yung isang season. Magpapasa ka lang ng Korean novela. Hindi mo na kailangan maghintay ng ilang months para matapos ang story, no? So naandun na from episode 1 to episode 100. So nandun na lahat. Hindi mo na kailangan dili na nimo kinahanglan nga paabot pa ka pila ka mga bulan para matapos nimo ang mga episode. So very instant. So nakasabot, did you understand the differences of the old generation and during our new generation? So very they availed a slow and single track pattern of activities. So during the old generation, not to say nga we're not happy, but makaingon ta nga kanang slow good siya kay dili dayon nato mahibal-an ang kanang like karon mabalaan nato dayon mo-access ra dayon ta dito sa YouTube or anything bisan sa nga digital tools nga atong gamiton para makabalo ta ug unsa na ang sunod nga mga mahitabo. So very instant na kaayo. Second is text versus visual. So before, if you wish to internalize educational concepts, you should read a lot, looking for related and promising sources. Back then was quite time consuming and effort exhausting. You might find one, but the visual displays wouldn't give you sufficient and enriched details. You had to browse through all the mind-blogging text to come up with an understanding of the desired concept. Really arduous. Okay, so our parents during those times with book text enriched by illustration and photos in order to research. They go to the library, use the card catalog for needed books, and sign up to borrow books for a home reading. So, ato nga mga ginikanan sa una. Kung mag-search sila, moadto na sila dito sa library. Moadto na sila dito and magamit sila og card catalog para kung naa sila bulungon dito na sila kinahanglanon nga libro, and mo sign up sila para makahulam sila sa mao nga books nga ilang gikinahanglan ug ilan ang basahon dito sa ilang balay. Okay, so the technology or digital generation has greater affinity to visual, photo, and video compared with the text. But today, useful information are sorted comprehensively in the internet. And in just one setting of browsing, YouTube will offer you numerous options of conceptual motion pictures. So, as of today, ang internet, mag-browse ka dito sa YouTube. The YouTube, a lot of information, will offer you numerous option of conceptual motion pictures na kadayo makitaan dito sa bisag unsa imo nga search, unsa imo gusto nga mahibalan, the YouTube na dito ang mga information. Okay, so isang click mo lang, ma-search mo na agad kung unsa ang gusto nimo nga mahibalan, meaning ana ni nga certain nga word. And also, just saying the word in Google, they will answer na they will provide na whatever you want, whatever you need. Also, colored pa. Dili pareha sa text nga boring pa kayo basahon ang books. Dili pa jud colored. So, unlike karon, inana naka-instant ang atong generation. In fact, they have been exposed since childhood to cable television and videos images, especially cartoon characters, and then to compute images in such a manner, and their visual fluency or abilities have sharpened and enriched. So, sa ilang pareha sa mga bata karon nga exposed kayo sila, nantaw sila sa cable pagod ilang TV, mga videos, images ng mga cartoon characters, may balaan yun na to, masabtan dayon nila, makaka-catch up dayon ang mga bata sa mga visual and fluency, ma-sharpen dayon ang mga abilities and ma-enrich good sila. So, I know nga kamo naka-experience with mo sa inyong mga pag-umangkon, sa inyong mga neighbors din nga ang mga bata karon is pretty na kaayo in terms of technology. Okay, so grabe man pud ang ilang exposure sa technology mo, nang inana sila ka active, inana sila ka inana ang result or effect sa ilaha sa technology. So in television, makita karon sa mga bata nga enhanced na kaayo, dali na kaayo nila masabtan. So that's why it is really important to use visual, photo, videos, images in our lessons. It's because they are easily bored on just reading. Nahirapan sila o maglisod sila o get sa topic. That's why we encourage to use that in our lesson for them to know and understand easily. So, With the use of technology, makita nila nga dali na nila masabtan na also ma-apply po na sa ato nga sa ato nga pag-eskwela sa lesson nga need og mga photos or mga videos kay kung sige ra gabasa maboard pud ang wala na no ay matun-an maboard na ang mga bata, so dili makakatch og attention kung inana ra, kung magbasa ra, kung walay mga visual nga imong ipakita. Okay, next is linear versus hypermedia. Although it was difficult for a student to look for good information sources, they are more logical than the learners today. All generation learners are more focused when it comes to fulfilling specific tasks than today's digital learners who simply rely on random hyperlink digital information without deep reflection. So the past 30 years old generation obtained information in a linear, logical, and sequential manner. On the positive side, this made them more logical, focused, and reflective thinkers. Linear, so they are following a certain system and order of their learning. Magpaabot lang na sila kung unsa na po sunod nga information nga ihatag sa school sa teachers. So that is linear. So naay di musunod ran or maghulat lang. Like the new generation, however, follows a personal random access to hyperlink digital information, less superior elders in focus and reflection. Thus, they appear to be more easily bored and distracted during class lectures. So it's because the information can be easily accessed. Example, if you are curious of the topic, you can easily get it in the internet. So, walang sinusunod na linear. If you want to study it in advance, so pwede na nimo himuon. We don't need to wait another sem or meeting. Minsan, usahay mabasa nato sa in our generation today, mabasa nato sa post sa Facebook, sa Twitter, somehow we may also additional information. May matutunan ang mga learners. So sa mga post sa Facebook, so for example, tanan naong naay Baguio. So ang mga estudyante sa una nga naa sa bukid or layo sa ilang walay mga technology like cellphone, wala pa sa una ang TV. So moadto gud sila sa eskwelahan, wala sila kabalo. Pagabot eskwelahan di pa na may balo nga wala di klase. So like for today, mabalaan nato sa Facebook, mabasahan nato nga wala di klase. Muniw ka na ang mga paghitabo. So very advantage sa karon nga generation kay dali dayon nato mabasa ang mga information. So not only mabasa dayon nato ang mga information sa karon, napagtutay daghan nga matun-an nga mga information, no? So gusto ka mag advance og tuon sa mga lesson nga gihatag sa imong teacher, pwede na nimo himuon. Dili siya linear nga sa una kung karon nga topic mura pud ni atong tun-an. So like karon na pwede ka maka-advance og tuon sa mga topic. Next is independent versus social learners. So old generation learners prefer to learn by themselves and tend to make individualized class involvements. They lean towards working alone, communicate less when it comes to learning, and more likely to engage in self-study. And like sa new generation karon, new generation learners are more sociable. They work more comfortably with peers and more exposed in discovery learning. Social media help modern students to communicate with their peers, even at long distances. Cooperative learning gives way of students to obtain constructive skills which are essential in authentic learning. So like sa una, sa old generation learners, inusara ra gyud ka kung sa hilimuon. Wala kay imong mga kagrupo kung lagyo. So mag-individualize lang yun mo kung sa imong ikatabang sa imong nga kagrupo. Like sa karon nga generation, pwede nila ma-chatan, pwede sila maka-video call sa ilang mga kagrupo para unsay ilang himuon sa ilang activities nga gihatag. So sayon kaayo pag involved sa imong mga sa imong mga kauban kaysa sa una nga walay technology. Mag-inusara ra in taon ka, isod ka contact sa imong mga kauban kay lagi man, no? Unlike pod kung ang imong kauban kay karon bisan og nasa bukid na may wifi, so maabot ra gyud, maka-access ra internet. So bisag unsa pa na kalayo maka-contact jud kanila. So naay mga advantage gyud. Muni ang advantage sa technology karon. Okay, so the generation learners for today, before, focuses independent learning. So yung generation na malalakas talaga ang computation, mag-compete. New learners, however, are already acquainted with digital tools that adapt to both personal and participative work. So the new generation encouraged to do a collaborative work, and they are acquainted with digital tools that adapt to both personal and participative work. They take the opportunity for dozens of instantaneous ways to communicate with others, mobile calls and texts, emails, Facebook, YouTube, MySpace, Twitter, Wikis, and etc. Experts describe this mode of digital learning as one of that based on experimentation, discovery, and intuition. So that's the differences between that independent versus social learners. So I hope that you learned from my discussion about the preferences of the technology generation. So those preferences nga ako na mention sa inyo ha. First is the single and multi-track activity patterns. Second is the text and versus visual. Next is the linear versus hypermedia. And last is the independent versus social learners. So those are the preferences of the technology generation. So naadyo mga changes because changes are the only constant in this world. So naadyo in every minute, in every second, in every single hour in our life na mga changes. Kay moora man na siya constant in this world. So naa-joy ang mga kausaban. Labi na in the field of education, the young atong na compared ang young generation and for today's generation, new generation. So Chris Rado will be going to continue the preferences of the technology generation, the continuation of those preferences. So I am done with my part discussing about the four preferences. So I will give the time to Chris for the continuation of this topic. Thank you, and I hope that you learn from my discussion.
Okay, so hello and good afternoon, everyone. This is Chris Arado, and I will be the next reporter. I will be continuing the report of Marijoy Namoko. So now let's proceed to learning to do versus pass the test. So as we all know, teaching styles have evolved significantly over time. The traditional method of delivering education was through recitation and memorization, whereas the new method utilizes interactive methods. So what's an interactive type of teaching? So interactive type of teaching is a means of instructing whereby the teachers actively involves the students in their learning process by regular teacher-student recitation for teacher-student interaction has an impression on classroom management and affects learning and growth. So according to developmental perspective, the establishment of a positive teacher-student relationship aids the students' cognitive and enhance the emotional growth and their mental well-being. The teacher-student relationship impacts productively on a student's self-esteem and enhances their skill. Student-teachers interaction are vital for the advance of the student's academic self-concept and enhancing their enthusiasm and success. Like for example, when a student doesn't understand a specific thing, then he or she can ask the teacher. So in this way, the students can really understand the topic that was discussed to them. So there is a teacher-students intervention wherein the students are allowed to approach the teacher so that he or she can better understand the topic that was discussed. So the other process of learning is the student interaction. So it is the interaction between students in a classroom's environment in which students ask each other's question, discuss or reflect on a topic, listen to their peers' opinions, and collaborate to accomplish the task that was given. So like for example, brainstorming. With this, student can interact with their classmate, formulate ideas with them so that everyone can better understand the topic that were tasked to them. So other process of learning is the use of audiovisual. So audiovisual aids such as interactive boards can be used during the lectures to make the presentation more interesting. So using audio visuals can improve the visuals and auditory perception of students. The attention span of students has been found to be longer when using audiovisual aids because it can catch their attention, which leads them to enjoy the discussion. So and now let's proceed to the last process, which is the hands-on demonstration. So on hands-on activities lets the students' mind grow and learn based on the experience and the environment they are exposed to. Owls learn while discussing, investigating, creating, and discovering with other students. So as the students become familiar with the subjects, they they are learning, they begin to make decisions requiring less teachers support and allowing more interactive learning experience to occur. So to sum up all the processes of or the ways of learning processes, the students are constantly encouraged to be active participants. So like for example, giving students a group activity such as making concept map creatively. In this way, students can better understand the topic, and also it is a way in which a teacher can see if a student do actually learn from his or her discussion. So now let's proceed to materials for teaching. Visuals such as pictures that you may add into your PowerPoint presentation are a great help for learners because as we all know, just like what I said a while ago, students can better inculcate a specific topic if there's visualization rather than just plain text. So like for example, recognizing a specific known individual like Martin Luther. So if it is more convenient to use a picture so that they can distinguish. In this way, they cannot dili sila malimot sa usa ka individual which is being shown, because if we only use text, then there's a big possibility that students will forget the person being tackled. So that's for the modern strategies of teaching, whereas in the traditional ones, although they also use such visualization, the focus here is the teacher will on how the way they deliver the discussion. So it is more on teacher-centered pedagogy in the traditional ones. So all teachers teach students in order to help them pass tests and complete the course requirements. So on the other hand, the new digital learners simply wish to acquire skills, knowledge, and habits as windows of opportunities afford them to learn. To pass a test means that a teacher must use a specific strategy. Given that there are tons of ways to assess a student, means that there are lots of ways that we can help a student to pass a test. So now let's proceed to delayed gratification versus instant gratification. So the traditional reward system in education consists in the grades, honor, certificate, or medals, and diplomas, including future jobs, the traditional rewards for the performance. On the other hand, digital learners on their own experience or more immediate gratification through immediate score from games, enjoyable conversation from webcam calls, excitement from email chats, and inviting comments from their Facebook accounts. So, in an instant gratification, also called immediate gratification, is the urge to satisfy a craving right away. So, it is without considering its long-term effect or a bigger picture. We live in an age of instant gratification. Unlike previous generation, in this digital age, we got social media sites such as YouTube videos, Netflix programs, online shopping like Lazada, Shopee, Shein, etc., Food Panda delivery, and so on for instant meals and for shopping. So new businesses are born to offer faster responses to our needs, provide convenience and increase productivity. So as a result, millions of peoples were able to work from home when there was a worldwide lockdown. So the help with the new technological tools, it is very convenient for those who lost their jobs in the lockdown, in the COVID-19 lockdown. But the ability to put off immediate pleasure in favor of a better reward in the long run is essential for development of self-control. Short-term gratification habitually leads us to expect immediate result, which can lead us to some pretty dangerous outcomes. So some impulsive behaviors aimed at short-lived pleasure may lead to a bad health or low quality of life. So if we always think about the immediate gratification, then there's a big possibility that we will not be stable in the way we think, because we expect that a specific gratification will come. So it is very dangerous for our mental health. For instance, teenagers may engage in risky behavior such as shoplifting and taking drugs because they give him an immediate reward. So this type of happening may happen because of an instant gratification. So this can happen if there is an instant gratification. So whereas in a delayed gratification, it is essential big element of self-control. So when you disavow immediate pleasure to instead seek a long-term reward, you set yourself up for a far higher degree of success on a various metrics. So delayed gratification refers to foregoing a smaller reward in the short term for a greater reward in the long term. So this talks about the hardship a person may face before he or she can achieve what we so-called success. So a success can be better appreciated once it was made because of our determination to fulfill the goals which we once dreamed about. So these differ from instant gratification or delayed discounting, in which you seek out as much pleasure as possible in the achieving long-term goals. This might feel like a default mood for some people, but short-circuiting this tendency of cognition can have a more desirable outcome. While it might feel good to release yourself from your inhibitions, hitting them can prove a more worthwhile strategies for long-term contentment and satisfaction. So here are the 4 benefits of delayed gratification based on matterclass.com. So first is that it creates a greater mental stability. So as you solidify your ability to chase long-term rewards instead of short-term distraction, you'll also shore up your mental health and well-being. With this greater mental stability, staying the course to achieve distant goals become much easier. So you'll also gain the emotional intelligence to know how to adequately meet your needs and refine your decision-making process as a whole. So it means that you can mostly think more efficiently, helping you to make a stable mental health. So the second benefit is that it improves performance and work. So a child's ability to defer gratification at a young age correlates to their eventual tendency to do the same in both academic and work environments. So if we train a child at an early age to have this type of mentality, then we can help them to be more open to know about the types of gratification. So when you can successfully put off seeking short-term bursts of pleasure to wait for a better reward in the long run, you can better build your competencies to excel in all areas in life. So the third benefit is that it increases social competence. In social contexts, young children and adults alike stand to gain a great deal from delaying rewards rather than seeking them out at the very possible moment. So, if you only ever want immediate gratification, it'll lead you to put your needs above others all the times, hampering your ability to make and maintain lasting relationship. So that's why parents sometimes or most of the time don't allow their children to buy something, especially when it's not that important, so that they can teach them how to value the importance of patience and also the money that was going to be spent on that specific thing. So and lastly is that it reduces engagement in harmful behavior. So the successful delay of gratification can lead to a reduction in harmful and addictive behaviors. So as we all know, addiction is an instant gratification taken to the ninth degree, and it can wreak havoc on both your mental and physical health. So delayed gratification enables you to find more positive and durable coping mechanism. One example of this that we can relate in educational system is making students study the lesson so that they can pass the exam rather than allowing them to open their notes while there is an examination. So we need to teach our students to become more independent rather than to become dependent for them to actually learn. So when you delay gratification, you steadily improve your ability to maintain impulse control over a long period. So now let's move on to rote memory versus fun learning, or as we all know, the meaningful ways of learning. So teachers feels too obliged to delivering content-based courses. They learn the learning of which is measurable by standard tests. Digital learners, and not surprisingly, there is much fun in the digital world as outside the school. Rote learning frequently involves repeating information until it's remembered. Learners often resort to rote memorization because they are unable to relate new information to prior knowledge. Meaningful learning is characterized by relating new information to prior knowledge. When one recalls prior knowledge, all relates information is more easily to recalled. Root and meaningful learning lie on continuum. They are not two separate entities. So they were not separated. So they're like mostly similar to each other. Novak et al. Describe three required conditions for meaningful learning. First is that the learners need to possess relevant prior knowledge. So that, as we all know, we need to inculcate to a specific learners a specific knowledge, so we should always use a correct information so that the students will not be misinformed on a specific topic. The materials to be learned must be conceptual, clear, and presented with language relatable to the learner's prior knowledge. So when we discuss a specific topic, we should use specific languages so that to the learner's language. Like if that learner's like for example MTV, so we mostly the learners here are a great mga kids. There were kids like 7 to 10 years old. So we need to, for them to actually learn from your topic, we need to use the Bisaya language so that they can better formulate a specific idea on the topic being discussed. So the third one is that the learner must choose to learn meaningfully. So in order for a student to actually learn, we need to use a strategic tool or strategies for them to be focused on the discussion so that they can better grasp the information that was given to them. The teachers have the least control over their students' willingness to learn in a meaningful way. This is so true because teachers cannot control the students' comprehension to actually listen to the class. So their attention will only work by they themselves. So this teacher does not have that capacity to control their ways of being actively listening to the class. So it can be indirectly influenced by employing instructional and evaluation strategies that promote meaningful learning, such as active learning and team-based activities, as well as limiting the amount of verbatim facts tests on exam. So in order to manage a meaningful learning, a school must employ a variety of active learning techniques, including cooperative learning. Cooperative learning wherein students work together in a small groups on a structured activity. They are individually accountable for their work, and the work of the group as a whole is also assessed. Problem-based learning, wherein students learn about the subject by working in groups to solve an open-ended problem. This problem is what drives the motivation and the learning. Team-based learning that engages students' knowledge through individual testing and group collaboration. Following individual answers, students join team and work through problems, appealing them they are incorrect. And case-based learning that engages students in discussion of specific scenarios that resembles or typically are real-world examples. This method is learner-centered with intense interaction between participants as they build their knowledge and work together as group to examine the case. So these methods of teaching enables students to identify their knowledge deficits as they attempt to apply their amassed knowledge. However, this method assumes that students are willing to engage and have sufficient knowledge to convert their rote learning into meaningful learning. So unfortunately, students who lacks or are unable to access their prior knowledge often get very little out of this active learning session. For us to examine the importance of rote learnings, let's review two studies that looked at how students learn two different subjects, language and math. Okay, so the first study evaluated two groups, 4th grade to 5th graders. One group had students who memorized root words for 20 different sessions, and the other group did not. So the group that had memorized root words learned new vocabulary and figure out the meaning of words in context easier than the other groups. The second study evaluated the reasons students were making errors in complex math problems. It is found that most errors were due to facts inaccuracy. Example, memorizable facts. And not algorithm errors. Example, process of rules that are used to meaningfully learn. These studies illustrates the needs to know memorization, the basics in order to use meaningful strategies for learning. These studies gives us insights regarding the necessity of rote learning in pharmacy curricula. Thus, curricula must also teach students the basic facts and develop techniques that enables them to efficiently acquire new information. Some rote learning techniques that could be employed includes first, using acronyms. Abbreviation and acronyms are shortened forms of words or phrases. They assist in making manuscript easy to read and understand. Additionally, they help in meeting the strict words count targets, avoiding the repetitions of words, thereby making the text easy to read. So common example of acronyms include the NASA, an acronym for National Aeronautics and Space Administration, and FOMO, a slang acronym for fear of missing out. Using the second way is to use mnemonics. Mnemonics is an instructional strategy designed to help students improve their memory of important information. These techniques connects new learning to prior knowledge through the use of visuals and or acoustic cues. The basic type of mnemonic strategies rely on the use of keywords, rhyming words, or acronyms. Examples of mnemonic includes setting the ABCs to music to memorize the alphabet, using to remember rules of spelling like I before E except after C, forming sentence out of the first letter of words in order to acrostic such as please excuse me my dear Aunt Sally. To remember the order of operations in algebra, you can also use mnemonic strategies to remember names, number sequences, and even a grocery list. People learn in different ways. Tools that work for one person may not be helpful for another. So, every individual has their own ways of learning. So, we differ with each other. So, we should always remember that as a future educator. As we will indulge or we will going to face different types of individual, multiple intelligence, and so on and so forth. An example phrase of mnemonic is hot as a hair, meaning hyperthermia. The third ways is using physical or electronic flashcards. So e-flashcards makes use of these techniques to boost the ability to remember for learners. The repetition of e-flashcards also has a double effect on your brain. You can not only learn information but can also become better at remembering as your brain is in training process. So for example, when learning Japanese vocabulary through e-flashcards, you can see the words again and again till you remember it. So by practicing this, your brain will do some work to remember as much information as possible. E-flashcards help with every single basic details to build the foundations of knowledge. Let's say that e-flashcards provides you with basic but essential elements. Just like when you want to build a house, you need to collect every single brick first. Without this foundation of knowledge, you cannot comprehend the subject or broaden your advanced knowledge. So, many subjects use e-flashcards as a tool to help learners better memorize the facts, notions, or formulas. You can also use it to test learners' understanding of different fields such as foreign language, chemistry diagrams, historical dates, and formulas. The fourth ways or the last ways is creating and providing cheat sheets of the most important facts discussed in each class. So what is a cheat note or a cheat sheets, you may ask? A cheat sheets are like a concentrated version of your class notes. Your regular class notes includes everything, and the information is much more general. On the other hand, your cheat sheet will include only the most important information. You can build your cheat sheet with information that you pull from your class notes, so they go hand in hand. The most important step to creating a cheat sheet is to create it over a period of time. Usually, for however long you cover a topic in class, in other words, you should start making your cheat sheet on the first day of a new unit and then add to it every day until that unit is over. So, when you create a cheat sheet, you must start from the beginning of the discussion or the beginning of the class up until to the last discussion. Like for example, first grading up until to its last discussion of the first grading. So in this way, you can formulate such information that you can put in to your cheat sheet that you will use as you study for your examination. Growth and meaningful learning are both important. Plutarch's famous quote suggests that the mind is a fire to be kindled. What modern learning models tend to neglect is the fuel required. Before meaningful learning can be achieved, students need to possess sufficient prior knowledge, kindling wood. Only then can teachers ignite the fire through active learning techniques. So, for a student to go to a much higher level of information or teaching strategies, we must first inculcate a basic knowledge to them so that they can have a simple brief explanation, brief examples of a specific topic. In this way, since we already inculcate to a student a specific information, we can now broaden that specific information to make it more reliable and to make it more viable. So, teachers need to connect with digital learners and not think of them as entering their past 30 years old traditional world. While there are apparent setbacks or limitations to digital learning, there are opportunities to tap through. As we all know, the gap between the young and old generations are far or big or high. So we must learn to adjust to the new techniques of teaching, aligning with the students' ways of learning. So we must include these three important things in the learning process. First is the visual learning. So it is a type of learning style in which students prefer to use images, graphics, colors, and maps to communicate ideas and thoughts. Visual learners must see information in order to learn. These learners are likely to have a photographic memory and may use color, tone, and brightness to recall information. In class, visual learners will benefit from seeing diagrams drawn out, for example, on a chalkboard and in slideshows. So, visual learners can really identify or really attain such knowledge if we make use of visualized learning materials such as infographic materials wherein we can simplify the topic, and in this way we can best describe a specific discussion in a way wherein students can actually identify or inculcate into their mind the main definition or the main idea of that topic. So visual learning refers to a mode of learning where students rely on graphic aids to remember and learn materials. Visual learners can easily visualize objects, have a great sense of balance and alignment, are very color-oriented, and can effortlessly envision imagery. So they are very creative in the way they organize their information or their copies. Visual learners learn best by color coding their notes, making to-do lists, and using concept maps to organize their thoughts. So mostly visual learners use notes. They highlight the notes, and so that when time comes when they need to study that notes, they can just study the important information, and in this way they can better understand or better memorize the information that was given into that specific information into that specific topic. Next is the hyperlink multimedia. So hyperlink is an area of a page that can be clicked to send the reader to a new page, open a new document, move to a web page, or send an email messages. So there are two parts to a hyperlink. The source is the object or text that you click to trigger the hyperlink. The destination is the page or web link you go to. It is very helpful for it helps you to navigate online content. Hyperlink can point to web content that is part of that website, or it can point to web content that is part of external websites, both images and text, and can be used to create a hyperlink. So hyperlink is an element in an HTML document that links to either another portion of the document or to another document altogether. So on web page, hyperlink are usually colored purple or blue and are sometimes underlined. So hyperlink can be thought of as an interface that links a source to a target. Clicking the hyperlink at the source will navigate you to the target. Hyperlink can assume any of the following appearance: text, images, URLs, controls, for example, a button. An anchor text is a type of hyperlink represented by plain text. Anchor text is very important in SEO, search engine optimization. What is search engine optimization, you may ask? So, it is the process of maximizing the number of visitors to a particular website by ensuring that the site appears high on the list of results returned by a search engine, or is the practice of orienting your website to rank higher on a search engine results page so that you receive more traffic. The aim is typically to rank on the first page. Google will sort for search terms that means the most to your target audience. For example, for a typical search query, the number one result will receive 40 to 60% of the total traffic for the query, with the number 2 and 3 results receiving significantly less traffic. Only 2 to 3% of searchers clicks beyond the first page of search results. Thus, even a small improvements in search engine ranking can result in a wide website receiving more traffic and potentially business. Because of this, many businesses and website owners will try to manipulate the search results so that their site shows up higher on the search results page than their competitors. This is where SEO comes in. Search engine optimization done properly can have the potential to dramatically increase the amount of traffic that a website receives, but all of that search traffic won't help grow a business unless it converts into paying customers. This is where conversion rate optimization comes in. So conversion rate optimization involves using methods such as A/B testing to make changes to websites and measures the impact they have on a site. Conversions rate. Successful search marketers knows that just getting traffic to a site is not enough. So what the traffic does once it arrives on the site is just as important. CRO was once a difficult and highly technical process. But thanks to the software, such as Optimizely, running tests to improve conversions on your site is as easy as inserting a single line of JavaScript. Best of all, Optimizely Visual Editors allows you to make changes to a site without having to write a single line of code. So the last that we should always put into our ways of teaching is making a problem solving activities. So problem solving games are activities that requires players to use critical thinking skills to solve puzzles. Example, activities includes escape rooms, Sudoku, and murder mysteries. So the purpose of these exercises is to sharpen reasoning and decision-making skills in group settings and to do team building with employees. So how can we define a problem? We can diagnose the situation so that you focus is on the problem, not just to its symptoms. Helpful problem-solving techniques include using flowcharts to identify the expected steps of a process and cause and effect diagrams to define and analyze root causes. The section below help explain key problem-solving steps. These steps supports the involvement of interested parties, the use of factual information, comparison of expectation to reality, and a focus on root causes of a problem. You should begin by reviewing and documenting how process currently work. Example, who does what with what information, using what tools, communicating with what organization and individual, in what time frame, using what format, evaluating the possible impacts of new tools and revised policies in the development of your what should be model, generate alternate solution, postpone the selection of one solutions until several problem-solving alternates have been proposed. Considering multiple alternatives can significantly enhance the value of your ideal solution. Once you have decided on the what should be model, this target standard becomes the basis for developing a roadmap for investigating alternatives. Brainstorming and team problem solving techniques are both useful tools in this stage of problem solving. Many alternate solutions to the problem should be generated before final evaluation. A common mistake in problem solving is that alternatives are evaluated as they are proposed so the first acceptable solution is chosen. Even if it's not the best fit, if we focus on trying to get the results we want, we miss the potential for learning something new that will allow for real improvements in the problem-solving process. So 3. Evaluate and select an alternative skill problem solver. Use a series of consideration when selecting the best alternative. They consider the extent to which a particular alternative will solve the problem without causing other unanticipated problems. All the individuals involved will accept the alternatives. Implementation of the alternatives is likely. The alternatives fits within the organizational constraints. 4. It implements and follow up on the solution. Leaders may be called upon to direct others to implement the solution, sell the solution, or facilitate the implementation with the help of others. Involving others in the implementation is an effective way to gain buy-in and support and minimize resistance to subsequent changes. Regardless of how the solution is rolled out, feedback channels should be built into the implementation. This allows for continuous monitoring and testing of actual events against expectation. Problem solving and the techniques used to gain clarity are most effective if the solution remains in place and is updated to respond to future changes. So those are some of information that basic information that may align to the digital tools of the younger generations uh, in today's preferences. So summary of the overall summary for this topic is that preferences of the technology generation means technology as a choice in education. As an instructional media in the new generation, in this lesson, the new and old generations are compared, and in some cases there are also examples that was given. The difference between new and old generations is that new generation uses multi-track activity, while the old generation uses single-track activities. Here are some preferences in technology generation: text versus visuals, linear versus hypermedia, independent versus social learners, learning to do versus learning to pass the test, delayed rewards versus instant gratification, root memory versus fun learning. So preferences of the technology as an instructional media was indeed a very big help in the new generation learners. But we must know as a teacher or as a future educator what is the appropriate use of it. We must also know when and how to limit these technologies in order for us to prevent our learners to become abusive and addicted to it. The old and young generation had different sides of learning process. We have different types of preferences, but even though we differ on such things, we are still human beings. So who wants to learn and to teach and or to give or to help and to help knowledge and to give their knowledge and to the others and or to help others and so on. So we need to inculcate to ourselves that whatever differences we have, we must always be as one to prosper and be as a tool for a good future. So that ends my discussion for today's video. The next topic will be discussed by the next reporter or the last reporter, which is Jonah S. Namoko. Thank you for listening into my part.
Hello and good day, everyone. My name is Jonah S. Tomoko, and I am the last reporter. So, let us discuss the new topic this day, which is the lesson 6, developing basic digital skills. So, this lesson it talk about the developing digital skills for digital learners. So, last topic we discussed the digital learners, the technology in a digital learner. So we all know about it, and now let us talk about on how we develop these digital skills. So as a teacher, they must adjust their teaching skills to effectively match the new digital world of information and communication technology, or ICT. So, as we are living in this digital world in our generation, the teacher should adjust their teaching effectively match in our digital world, because if they are focusing in the traditional way of teaching, then our students right now are now engaging with a technological learning. So we should adjust. The students will adjust, and the teacher also will adjust in this information and communication technology. So they must be clear on what basic knowledge, skills, and values or literacies need to be developed. So in this technological world, we should know the basic knowledge, the skills, and the values
and different kinds of literacies in order for us to develop this new learning skills. So, it is essential digital skills are a step towards learning lots of other new things. They can improve your confidence to use technology for work, learning, and daily life. So, this is very important when we know these digital skills because it can help us to know the different new things that we need to put in our daily lives. This can also help us to be confident in doing our works, in doing our works in different aspect of works that we need to find whenever in schools or in different kinds of companies because it can help us to beautify our work in a different way. And many jobs today need digital skills. You need them even more for jobs and do not ask for high levels of qualifications or experiences. So, as we see right now in our generation, so even you are not yet graduated in college or even you are just graduated in a senior high school, so you are qualified in a certain company that they are in certain company because if you have a digital learning skills of doing something like in a computer you are good at your communication skills, then you are you will be accepted in that a certain company or job because of your skills in the digital skills. And with the boost of technology in education, as we call in today, our learners is the new digital world of information and communication technology or ICT. Teaching needs to be equipped with the 6 fluency skills. So in here, we need to study the different kinds of fluency skills. And basic literacy will not replace the 3 R's, which is the reading, writing, and arithmetic. But they will be complemented by 6 essential skills to equip students for success in the millennial world. The fluency skills are the solution fluency, information fluency, collaboration fluency, media fluency, creativity fluency, and digital ethics. So, as we go on to our topic this day, we will tackle it one by one. But for now, let us focus first the 3 R's. So what are the 3 R's? There are 3 basic literacies: the reading, the writing, and the arithmetic. These basic skills cannot be replaced. So even if we are now engaging in this digital world, right, in our generation, but the 3 R's, which these basic skills cannot be replaced. Why? Because when we are young, teachers often focus on the 3 R's. There are reading, writing, and arithmetic. These 3 basics were the mainstay of education. However, as the technology progresses, more and more schools are undermining these basic principles because students need to know more and to be able to work with computers, software, and other pieces of technology. So, it is basic literacy, which is the reading, writing, and arithmetic. So when we talk about the reading, it is our traditional way, or the traditional way of the teacher to use, like the books. The teacher wants the students to read the book, and also writing, because it helps the students know how to write the words that they need to learn. and also the arithmetic. So when we talk about the arithmetic, it is more on mathematics or science, which is the addition, subtraction, division, and multiplication, and other concepts or other that talks about mathematics or science. So we should never replace this. Even though we are now in the technology progresses, that our schools are use this in our days, but our days because many students are uses computers, softwares, and other or laptops or other technology tools that they are using right now, and the 3 R's are like na-disappear na siya. But the 3 R's can become discounted as basic and fundamental learning tools. Other schools focus on the reading, writing, and arithmetic while also learning science, art, and technology. So, especially in our elementary or high school or even in college, dili jud mawala ang kaning 3 R's. Even though we are the teacher allow us to use our cell phone to search something, or our teacher want us to make a PowerPoint presentation in our laptop or anything that use computers or different kinds of technology, but the 3 R's are not be replaced. This still remain, and in fact, we drill down beyond these basic three tenets of learning to teach students how to both evaluate and use new information. So even kanang we are progressing now in this technology, but we use these 3 R's to gain for us to gain the different information. Like if we search in the Google about a certain topic, but your teacher want it to write for us to have a note, right? And we feel the point of education is not only to show a student how to gain more knowledge, but how to absorb and use that knowledge in a practical manner. So the point of this education is not only to show the students to gain more knowledge in different technology, but also it allow us to absorb in our brain that we use it in the practical manner. So the 3 R's are relevant today. So as these 3 R's are relevant in our generation, in this millennial world. So education has always gone beyond the basic of reading, writing, and arithmetic. However, the 3 R's are tools with which a students can gain more knowledge in any subjects. So we should always remember that when we use the 3 R's, the reading, writing, and arithmetic, this can help us students to gain more knowledge in different kinds of subjects. Because when you are just reading, because when you are just only searching in a Google of what you want to learn and without writing it, and you cannot it will not absorb in your brain, because it need more practice to do the thing. And if a student can read and write, or he or she can complete a research project and learn to type, and if a student understands the basic of arithmetic, he or she can learn to program complex algorithm or study science. So let us always remember that if a student can read and write, he can complete a research project to learn. He can complete a research project and learn to type. So, if your teacher want you to have a research paper, so if you can read, or if you can read in different articles. You find different articles from internet, and you write the very important on it, and then you learn to type it in your laptop. So there is a combination within the 3 R's and the technology, right? So because when you disappear the 3 R's, the technological learners will not be grow also, because when you are just only focusing technology and you will disappear the 3 R's, you will not be gain more knowledge. And also, if a students understand the basic arithmetic, so if you know how to multiply, to solve any problems like addition and division, you can learn to program complex algorithm or to study sciences, right? So here there is a question: how can you help as a teacher, or how can you help as a student, or how can you help as a parents to your students or to your child? So you can help your child or students on how to learn the 3 R's of education and improve his or her life. Here are a few things you can do to help your child learn these important educational basic skills. Okay, so read to and or with your child each night. So as your child are now engaging with the gadgets, the cell phones, the laptop, and different kinds of technology that your children use, and they forget the reading, the writing, and the arithmetic, you train your child. You train your child to read before you're going to sleep. In your bed, you should read a story. You read any inspiring words from devotional, something like that can your students know, can also develop the reading skills, right? And also cook with your child following a recipe, because when you cook with your child and you follow the different kinds of the recipe, and your child will know what are the next recipe. They will read and they will understand. And write your child a handwritten notes and ask him or her to do so back. Like something that you write your children. You write a letter about your children when you go outside, and then you will write this. And without the presence of your child, then you write a letter, and you said to your child that you will be come back at this time, and then let your child respond it by also writing his or her notes. So something like that. And also encourage your child to use a dictionary to help him or her spell words and look up the meaning of the words. Because nowadays, as we can see that our students are just only dependent on the technology. If the teacher asks, if the parents ask, what is this kind of words? And then the students just only searching it in the Google. And you should practice also your child to find, to encourage to use the dictionary, because before, dictionary is very important, because when you find the words, you need to find it in the dictionary and find the meaning of it. And it is very important for a child, for a student. And it can also help them to know what kind of word is that, because there is a meaning, right? And then build something with your child using a plant that define the length and width of objects. So when you are in the garden, and you plant different kinds of seedlings, and you will make the how many hectares of your garden will be, and you let your child know what define the length and the width of your garden or the tools that you are going to use. In that way, they can use the arithmetic skills, right? Now, there also here help your child set up a lemonade stand, bake sales, or garage sale. He or she can make the signs, sell item, and give correct change to customers. So even in your house, you can teach your child. If you have any sari-sari stores, let your child sell something, because in that way he know how to change the money of, and in the arithmetic will be used, no? And here it says also that include your child when writing a holiday and birthday cards. So this is very helpful because in my elementary days, so when there are Valentine's Day, Teacher's Day, or any important events in our school, our teacher wants us to write a card, and that is very important, and that is a very useful skills in writing skills that can help students, right, to be more knowledge and to practice their writing skills. And as your child to keep a journal of questions, or he or she can ask to you which you do not know the answer. On the weekend, take your child to the library to discover answers, something like that. And alternatively, show your child how to research the answer to such question in the internet while avoiding dubious websites. So, since you are teaching your child in a basic, the 3 R's, you should also teach your child in our technological learnings, because the two should be balanced in our generation right now. When planning a trip or vacation, include your child in calculating distances, mapping where you need to go, and write the overall itinerary. So when you are migrating to other place, let your child do an itinerary of where they are going to stop, where they're going to sleep, something like that. And also, all this action can help your students or your child improve his or her skills in reading, writing, or arithmetic. So in this just a simple way that we can teach in our children or our child in school or in our house. In this way, even they are engaging in the technology, but they can also absorb in their mind that reading, writing, and arithmetic is very important in their daily life. And also, the 3 R's are coupled with our basic philosophy of helping students understand how to use their knowledge in a practical way, keep the young people we work with enthusiastic about growing their own education. So we all know that our education is first, we learn this in our house first until we go to our school. So now, that was the importance of the 3 R's, the reading, writing, and arithmetic, that we should not replace it. And even we discover or progressing these new technological tools, but the 3 R's, we should put it together, because we should not replace it in whatever happened. So now let us proceed to or discuss the six basic digital skills. But in the traditional way of learning, the three R's are the given emphasis in the instruction. But do you think it's given in but do you think it is still applicable in today's generation? So there is a question that the three R's is very important in our lives, right? So do you think that this is still applicable in today's generation that we are now engaging in this technological world? Maybe yes or maybe not. It depends on a student or a child on how he apply it in his or her life. We will know deeper about the basic digital skills that are looked for the new digital world of information and communication technology, or ICT. So on our previous topic, we know the differences and comparison between the old and new generation. So as you hear the discussion of Grace and Mary Joy, you already know the differences or comparison between the old and new generation, no? But now we will tackle on the new generation only, for this is all about their fluency skills. So going back to the three R's, the reading, writing, and arithmetic, these three are the foundation in the traditional system of instruction, but in the new system where literacies need to be developed by the digital learners. So that the three R's are the traditional systems of instructions. But as we are now developing the digital learners in our generation today, these literacies were the following. So basic knowledge in ICT, values in ICT, and skills in ICT. So this is very important. We should know the knowledge, we should have the knowledge of ICT. First, we should know what is ICT and how broad it is, that this can very helpful in our lives right now. And also we should value the value in ICT. So we should give value the ICT because this is very important in our lives right now, because this can help us our work easier, no? And skills in ICT. So we have different skills in ICT depending on you, on how you use it and how good you are in different way of using the ICT or the technology. So let us discuss the different skills of ICT, and these basic literacies will not replace the three R's, but they will be complemented with the six essential skills to equip students for success in the millennial world. So we will not just only replace the three R's, but we should learn more about the six essential skills to equip the students to succeed and to know more about the technology as we are living in this millennial world. These literacy skills are better called as fluency skills, conveying the ease and facility and acquiring and using them. So these are the following fluency skills. So let us study. And so there are six basic digital skills that every student nowadays must acquired. So there are six digital skills that every student nowadays should acquire or should apply it. No? So these are solution fluency, information fluency, collaboration fluency, media fluency, creative fluency, and digital ethics. So these six digital skills, we should discuss it one by one on why it is important for us students to have apply it in our lives as we are now engaging in this digital learning. And so let us proceed to number one, which is the solution fluency. So the solution fluency refers to the capacity and creativity in problem solving. So in solution fluency, this is more on the creativity in the different kinds of problems that we need to solve in our lives. It requires whole brain thinking, execute when students define a problem, design the appropriate solution, apply the solution, and assess the process and result. So this is very important because our brain are very useful in this matter because we can execute the students with the different problem of a students. There are different problems of a students that we need to solve it with the use of our creativity, and also design that kind of solution that make us to be apply it in our real life situation, real life situation, and assess us to process the result of that certain solution in our problem. And next is information fluency. So what is this information fluency? So information fluency involves three subjects of skills. So what are these three subject of skills? So first, an ability to access information. Access may involve not only of the internet but other sources like CD-ROM software. So in this information fluency, so it involves it has the ability to access the information that we learn in different kinds of different articles that we search or we gain in the different information. And also it involves not only in the internet, and it's not only that we can get information in the internet, but also the sources like the CD-ROM software, which is random or read-only memory. And the second one is an ability to retrieve information. May includes not only text but images, sounds, and video. So we can gain or can get information in the not only in the text of not only in the text that we search in the Google or not, but we can also see there the information through the image, which is very important. The image is very important in a certain information because through image we can it can help us to develop our minds of what that kind of information is. And sounds and video, because through sound or through video we can learn more about it, because it can help us to catch our attention of the certain sounds of a certain video. So next is an ability to reflect on, assess, and rewrite for instructive information packages. So if we have gained information, it also helps us to reflect on and assess us to rewrite something, and we will construct it differently, the information that we get that we get from the internet. No, so we will rewrite it, and we will also help, especially in writing an essay, right? So in writing an essay, we should not only copying on what we search in the internet or the information that we get from the internet, but also it can help us to rewrite something, summarize or paraphrase, because it can the information that we get is, if we copy that to us from the internet, and we will not credits the owner of a certain information that we get, is we will be plagiarized, and that is not good. So next is collaboration fluency. So what is collaboration fluency? So collaboration fluency refers to teamwork with virtual or real partner in the online environment. So as we are now engaging in technology, so there are the collaboration different teams in virtual or in a real partner in the online environment. So just for example, the gaming in the game. So there are different kinds of games. So there are different inventor of games that they are to collaborate. For them to there is a virtual interaction, no, in social networking, on because it helped them to gain more money also, if they will collaborate. And next one is the media fluency. The media fluency refers to channels of mass communication. So just for example, the radio, television, magazine, advertising, or graphic arts, or digital sources. So the media fluency, this is very important in our lives today, because nowadays we are just only depending on this kind of communication, especially the radio, where we hear in the radio the different kinds of news, no, from different countries, and also the television are also important, and the magazine, the advertising, and different kinds of digital sources. And there is a need for an analytical mind to evaluate the message in a chosen media. So if what we hear and the message from different media, it can help us also to gain more knowledge, and as well as creative ability to publish digital messages. So it is not easy to publish, because there are more process in that thing, because when you are in a media team, you are more on editing something. You will put in the radio, or the news should be legit, because in creating before you publish a certain magazine, or before you publish a certain news, or a news, you will know first if this is legit before you show it in a television, before you talk it in the radio. It should be legit, and because if that is not legit, and then be in prison or something like that if they are not using the legit one. And also, media refers to channels of mass communication or digital sources. So the media fluency is very important because it is more in using digital skills. And the next one is creativity fluency. So the creativity fluency, it adds meaning by way of design. So this way of design, art, and the storytelling to package a message. So in creativity fluency, this is very important for us, especially students and teachers right now, since it allows us to make a PowerPoint presentation, right? So if we made a PowerPoint presentation, we should know what are the exact design to put at the certain in the certain PowerPoint presentation for our students to catch the attention of the students, and also the art of words that we need to put, and how the templates for the PowerPoint presentation, or what are the font it is, our students will see it clearly, or even we use the right color for it, and also the patterns and the elements that is in the creative fluency. And the teacher and the students should practice this kind of skills, because this is very important in our digital world right now. And the last one is the digital ethics. So the digital ethics refers to guided by principles of leadership, global responsibility, environmental awareness, global citizens, and personal accountability. So in digital ethics, so it guided us to follow the principles of leadership, and also the global responsibility, because when we use technology it will not only we are not just only using it in our own country, in our own town, but it is global, right? So when you use a Facebook, when you post something in Facebook, and then you should responsible on what you are posting, because it can seen by the whole world. And you should be aware in your environment, because in using a technology, you are not just only posting the what you want to post, but also you should think of what it costs also. And in this chapter also, we review the higher thinking skills that were proposed by Bloom that can serve as a general framework of skills, a new era of creativity in this new digital world. So, entering the new world of information and communication, technology opens the way for complex and higher cognitive skills. So, as we are entering this new world of information, or ICT, in our generation right now, we are open in the complex or higher cognitive skills, in a cognitive skills and creativity skills, no? And also it can help us to in this digital world has led us to introducing a kind of framework that requires information processing, idea creation, and real world problem solving skills. So the above taxonomy is a pattern after new scientific knowledge on how the human brain works. By developing the higher thinking skills, the schools today can inculcate the digital influence, the fluencies, while overcoming limitation inherent in digital technology, resulting in superficial and mediocre learning skills of new learners. So, this serves as a guide for teachers on how the learning process of their learners took place and how it happens. So, so, so me as a future teacher, it is very important that we are knowledgeable enough of the skills that our learners need to achieve. And it is as if the same way our objective in the instruction. And also, because we are more into the digital era, teachers as well as the students need to enhance their digital skills, thus saying that we should add to the 3 basic R skills. So we will not eradicate the 3 basic R, but rather add improvement in the betterment of our skills. So as a future teacher, I should also learn more about this the digital skills, because it can reflect me on how will I teach my students the different kinds of on how I will use these skills. And also not only that the teacher will enhance the digital skills, but also the students, because if a teacher only know and the students will not know, and then it will reflect also the teacher. That's why the students and teacher should enhance their skills in digital learning. And we should not forget the 3 R's, right? The reading, writing, and the arithmetic. Because that is very important also in our lives as we grow and learn more about problem solving, or it can help us to in our real life situation. But we just only improve the betterment of our skills by adding this different kinds of influence skills in learning this digital learners. And also we can apply this one whenever we will use on audio visual materials resources as the aid of our instruction. For example, as what I said before, we choose the PowerPoint presentation in discussing our designated lesson of the day. But before we come up with that presentation, we should be able to make a good PowerPoint slides in order for us to deliver the lesson well and attractive to the students. So in here, in making a PowerPoint presentation, we should use our creativity skills, no? Because we're not just only presenting it in front without any design, the proper font, and proper color. Because as a teacher, you need to catch the attention of your students on if they will like your presentation, and they listen to you, and they have you should have a different kinds of activities that make your students be happy, no, in learning. And we should be able to make a good PowerPoint presentation slides in order for us to deliver our lesson attractive to the students. And another thing is that we should be aware of the copyrights when we will search in the internet, or because that is the ethics. And if we get information from the internet, we should be practical and knowledgeable enough, because we should be aware of the copyright. So, see, in order for us to create a digital instruction materials, we should first improve our basic digital fluency skills. So, so as a teacher or so as a student, because not only the teacher to discuss or report to the students, but also our students or the students also report of the certain topics that the teacher given to them, right? So we should know the digital instructional materials so that it can help us to improve our work to be beautified, no? By using this, by knowing and using our basic digital fluency skills. Okay, so now let's proceed to the higher thinking skills. So, in a Bloom's taxonomy serves as a general framework or skills that requires information processing. So, the idea creation and real world problem solving skills. So, the following taxonomy may be proposed. So, there are 6. First one is remembering. So, recall information or recalling relevant knowledge from long-term memory. So, in remembering, this is very important in the higher thinking skills because you will recall the knowledge that you learned before. And the second one is understanding. So, in understanding, here it explains the idea, making sense of what you have learned. So, in understanding, this is also important because in this taxonomy, it can give sense of what you have learned to the lessons that you learned before. Next is applying. So, in applying, use the knowledge or information in a new way. So, when you already know a certain or understand a certain topic or a certain words, and then in what you gain that certain information, you will apply it to yourself and use it in a new way. So the next one is analyzing. So in analyzing, it distinguishes different parts, breaking the concept into parts and understand how each part is related to one another. So in analyzing, you will use your mind or your brain to analyze the differences of a certain parts, and also you through this in analyzing or distinguishing the different parts of a certain topic or a certain words, here you will understand if they are related to each other. So the next one is evaluating. So in evaluating, it justifies the stance or position. So it making judgment based on a set of guidelines. So in evaluating, you will justify it, or you will in here you will have the judgment based on what you learned and what already set in the guidelines. So next is creating. So what is creating? So in create, it is a new product or point of view putting information together in an innovative way. So in creating here, it can develop your creativity skills where you can gain or you can know the new product or the new learnings that or your point of view, which you put the information together in a different way or in a creative way. So, high order thinking skills are a series of important competencies in individuals can utilize in order to improve learning process and critical thinking. So, those who employ high order thinking skills understand how to analyze and evaluate complex information. It also categorize, manipulate, and connect facts, troubleshoot for solution, understand concepts, connections, and big picture thinking or problem solve or idea and develop insightful reasoning. So when you apply the high order thinking skills, it is very important for the individual to help us to improve our learnings, especially in the critical thinking, which it can also help us to understand and analyze the different complex of information, which we can connect the differences of a certain information or so that we can understand the different concepts of a different concept, which we can picture out the different kinds of thinking that our brain create, and also it can help us to solve any problem that we are facing, that is very important for us to be more to grow as an individual. So high order thinking skills, also called high order thinking or the HOT. It refers to skills that go beyond memorizing information or regurgitating stories, skills at bottoms of the Bloom's taxonomy hierarchy. So, and emphasize the development of analytical skills. High order thinking skills are thought to be harder to teach and learn than mere facts. So it more on teach or more on hands-on, but are ultimately more important for developing critical thinking and analytical faculties. So it also very important by using of your thinking skills to analyze a different kinds of information. Though essential at the university or the college's level, a high order thinking skills are thought to be increasingly important in early education. So I think this is not only teach by the college level, but also teach in the high school or senior high school, because this is very important for students to inculcate their brain in the early education. They are what we are talking about when we want our students to be evaluative, creative, and innovative. So for us to help our student to become evaluative or creative in different kinds of works they're going to do, and they are also innovative in doing something. So the ICT opens the way for complex and higher cognitive skills. So A new era of creativity in the digital world has led to introducing a kind of framework that requires information processing, idea creation, and the real world problem solving skills. So, in the ICT or the ICT, it has a complex rule in the higher cognitive skills because in our digital world right now we are more 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 on information processing. Here we can create different kinds of ideas that can make our minds more creative in by using the technology. And also, it can help us to lead, especially in a real world problem, right? So, pattern after new scientific knowledge and how human brain works. So, our brain work hard in when we are being creativity in everything we do. So there are two types of our brain. As We have the two types of brain, the right brain and the left brain, and if these two types of brain has different functions. So in the right brain, it functions random, intuitive, holistic, synthesizing, subjective, looks at the wholes. So in our right brain, it develop the different kinds of information that we hear from different information that we hear when there is someone talks and when we read about it. And because it is a subjectives and looks at a whole, so it generalize of what are the information or knowledge that you hear or read. So in the left brain, so here it also learn more about the logical, sequential, rational, analytical objectives, and looks as part. So in the left brain, like iyahang sequential. So the left brain is more on logical. So our left brain is he want to look part by part. So he need to analyze more and be objectives in different information that we can gain from our study. So just for example, so in in drawing the literal meaning, so it is the left brain. So in the left brain, it draws the literal meaning. So what are the literal meaning of it? And the right brain, it understand the meaning. So because the right brain it has the looks as a whole or a general information it gathers. So when we see a certain information and our right brain will look at it and it automatically we can understand that thing or that words, while our left brain it will think more logically and it draws the literal meaning. So next is, so what is critical thinking? So the critical thinking is a higher order cognitive skills that is indispensable to students. So, reading them to respond to a variety of complex problems that are sure to arise in their personal and professional lives. So, the critical thinking is very important for our students because it can help their mind to not only focusing on a certain information that they will get, but also it can help them to think more creatively. And the cognitive skills at the foundation of the critical thinking are analysis, interpretation, evaluation, explanation, and inference and self-regulation. So, when students think critically, they actively engage in this process. So, when students are think critically, it engage in communication, in analysis, problem solving, evaluation, and reflection. So, to create an environment that engage students in these processes, instructors need to ask questions, encourage the expressions of a diverse opinions, and involve students in a variety of hands-on activities that force them to be involved in their learning. So, the type of critical thinking skills, the instructors should select activities based on the level of thinking they want students to do and the learning objectives for the course of assignment. So if you are the instructor, when you want to inculcate the critical thinking of your students, and then you will select the activities that are suited for the level of the thinking of a student, because the chart so the level of critical thinking skills students demonstrate questions to ask. So when a student learn more about a certain topic, so he will ask questions. So there are lower levels and the higher levels. So in the lower levels, it remembering or recognize, describe, list, identify, and retrieve. So understanding or explain or generalize or estimate, predict, and describe, summarize, or explain. So that are under in the lower levels. So now let us see what are in the higher levels. So in the higher levels, it applying or carry out or use, implement, show, solve, analyzing or compare, organize, or deconstruct. So it also explain why and explain how. So it evaluating, check or judge, critique, conclude, explain, creating. It's also a plan or design or produce. So using online tools to teach critical thinking skills, online instructors can use technology tools to create an activities that help students develop both lower level and higher level critical thinking skills. Because in our digital world right now, so as the teacher use the technology tools in creating activities, you should also, and this teacher also think of the critical thinking of a students that can really help them to develop both of these lower level and the higher level. in reflection activities. Reflection activities, just example these reflection activities. So, in reflection activities, it provides students with opportunities to track their learning and demonstrate their progress throughout the semester. So, if you let your students write a reflection activities, so it will help the students to track their learning of what they are learning in their first semester or their second semester. Yes, you're like that. So it also enhances the level of critical thinking students do through reflective activities. Tell students to cite course materials that have helped them advance their knowledge and critical thinking. And example of this is use Google Doc, a collaboration feature in Canvas, and tell students to keep a journal in which they reflect on what they are learning. Describe the progress they are making in the class, and cite course materials that have been most relevant to their progress. So, the students can share the Google Doc with you, and instructors can comment on their work also. So, the peer review activities, the next one is the peer review activities. So, the peer review activities enable students to demonstrate communication skills by giving feedback on each other's work. Expose students to alternative perspective and allow students to question what they are reading. So, in doing the peer review activities online can protect students' anonymity, making students more likely to be honest in their feedback. So, example of this is use the peer review assignment feature in the Canvas and manually or automatically form peer review groups. So this group can be anonymous or display students' names. Tell students to give feedback to two of their peers on the first draft of a research paper. So use the rubric features in Canvas to create a rubrics for students to use. So it shows students the rubrics along with assignment or instructions so that the students know what they will be evaluated on and how to evaluate their peers. So the next one is the discussion forums. So discussion forums allow students to communicate with their peers or friends, answer questions that require them to demonstrate both lower level and higher level, and analyze course content. So when instructors set clear guidelines for participation and model critical thinking skills through their participation in the discussion. Okay, so the next one is the discussion forum. So the discussion forum, it allows students to communicate with their peers or answer questions that require them to demonstrate both the lower level and the higher level. So it also analyzes the course content. And when instructors set clear guidelines for participation and model critical thinking skills, through their participation in discussion forum, students can also demonstrate how they are engaging in the critical thinking process. So, example of this is use the discussion feature in Canvas and tell students to have a debate about a video they watched. Post the debate question in the discussion forum and give students instructions to take a side of the debate and cite course readings to support their arguments. The next one is the small group activities. So the small group activities allow students to communicate, problem solve, hear different perspectives, and collaborate to analyze and synthesize course content. So by assigning small group activities, instructors can engage students in multiple levels of critical thinking. So, example, use the GOR Act or a tool for creating a commenting on online presentations that summarize and raises questions about what you are read. Tell students to comment on the strengths and weaknesses of the author's argument. Students can post the links to their GoReact presentation in the discussion forum or an assignment using the insert link features in the Canvas. So, the next one is the digital storytelling activities. The telling digital stories allows students to use multimedia, like the images, audio, or video, to present information. Digital stories can include number 1, personal narrative. Second, stories that document events. Number 3, stories that inform and instruct. Creating digital stories allows students to evaluate, reflect on, or analyze course content. So, example of this is use a GoReact or a narrated PowerPoint presentation or a Google document and instruct students to tell a story that informs readers and listeners about how the course content they are learning in useful in their professional lives. And in that story, it tells students to offer specific examples of readings and class activities, and that they are finding most relevant to their professional work, or it links to GoReact presentation and Google Doc that can submitted in a via discussion forum or assignment in the Canvas. So the PowerPoint file can be submitted via discussion or submitted in an assignment. So the next one is pulling it all together. So in critical thinking, it is an invaluable skill that students need to be successful in their professional and personal lives. Instructors can be thoughtful and purposeful about creating learning objectives that promote a lower and higher level critical thinking skills, and about using technology to implement activities that support these learning objectives. So below are the those are the different kinds of way that the students develop both the lower level and higher level critical thinking skills. This talk about the critical thinking skills. So other people might think that, so what is critical thinking? Why it is very important? So critical thinking is a higher order cognitive skills that is indispensable to students. So the critical thinking skill, this is very important in a student because okay, so the critical thinking and other higher order thinking skills. Critical thinking is a higher order. We all know that the thinking is a higher order thinking skills. That's why this is important for us students. Because so we all know that the critical thinking and other higher order thinking skills are important to students because these skills go beyond the basic observation of facts and memorization. So they are what we are talking about when we want our students to be evaluative, creative, and innovative. So when most people think of critical thinking, they think that their words or the words of others are supposed to get criticized and torn apart into an argument. When in fact, all it means is that they are a criteria based. So there is a criteria based when we talk about it. So this criteria required that we distinguish facts from fiction, synthesize and evaluate information, and clear communicate, solve problems, and discover the truth. So why is critical thinking important in teaching, especially in teaching? So according to Paul and Edgar 2007, much of their thinking left to itself. It biased, distorted, partial, and informed or downright prejudiced. So yet the quality of our life, that of which we produce, make, or build depends precisely on the quality of our thought. So critical thinking is therefore the foundation of a strong education. So these say that the critical thinking, it is the strong foundation of the education because through this, it can help the students to be evaluative, to be creative in everything they do. So, using the Bloom's taxonomy of thinking skills, the goal is to move students from lower to higher order thinking. So, from knowledge, information gathering, to comprehension, which is confirming, and from application, which is making use of that knowledge, to analysis, taking information apart. So from evaluation, judging the outcome. So you evaluate what are the outcome. To synthesis, putting information together. And creative generation. This provides students with the skills and motivation to become innovative producer of goods, services, and ideas. This does not have to be a linear process but can move back and forth and skip steps. So, how do we incorporate critical thinking into our course? Or we have different courses we get. So how it incorporate that critical thinking? So the place to begin and most obvious space to embed the critical thinking in the syllabus is with students' learning objectives or outcomes. A well-designed course aligns everything else, all the activities, assignments, and assessments with those core learning outcomes. So, The learning outcomes contain an action or a verb, an object, which is noun, and often start with students' will. Yes. So, the Bloom's taxonomy can help you to choose appropriate verbs to clearly state what you want students to exist the course doing and what level. So, the Bloom's taxonomy it help us or it help it help us to write the correct objectives because in writing especially the objectives, you should not just only writing of your own. You have a right verb to follow. So examples. Students will define the principal component of the water cycle. So this is an example of the lower order thinking skills. So the students will evaluate how increased or decreased global temperatures will affect the components of the water cycle. So this is an example of the higher order thinking skills. Both of the above examples are about the water cycle and both require the foundation knowledge that form the facts of what makes up the water cycle. But the second objective goes beyond facts to an actual understanding. So, application and evaluation of the water cycle. And using a tool such as Bloom taxonomy to set learning outcomes help to prevent vague or non-evaluative expectations. So it forces us to think about what we mean when we say students will learn. What is learning? How do we know they are learning? Yes, so in writing an objectives, you should be careful in using the Bloom's taxonomy because you will think what is learning that the students will be learned in the discussion or in the lesson that you want to share or to discuss. So the best resources for helping teacher use Bloom taxonomy in the classroom, it consider designing class activities, assignments, and assessment, as well as the students' learning outcomes with the use of the Bloom taxonomy as a guide. So as a teacher, we experience how to write. We know already how to write a lesson plan. So in the lesson plan, we need to follow the right objectives that we use the Bloom's taxonomy as our guide, and then you can't made easily the objectives if you should suit your in the activity or your assignments or your assessment or your evaluation to your objectives for you to know what will the students learning outcomes. So the Socratic style of questioning or encouraging critical thinking method of disciplined questioning that can be used to explore the complex ideas, to get the truth of things, to open up issues and problems, to uncover the assumptions, to analyze concepts, to distinguish what we know from what we don't know, and to follow out logical implication of thoughts. So, to deeply explore students' thinking, helping students begin to distinguish what they do and do not know or understand, and to develop intellectual humility in the process, to foster students' abilities to ask probing questions, helping students acquire powerful tools or dialogue so that they can use these tools in their everyday life, in questioning themselves and others. And also, how do we assist the development of critical thinking to the students? So, in the course is carefully designed around students' learning outcomes, and some of those outcomes have a strong critical thinking component, and final assessment of your students' success at achieving the outcomes will be evidence of their ability to think critically. So, a multiple choice exam might suffice to assess lower order level of knowing, while a project of demonstration might be required and evaluate synthesis of knowledge or creation of new understanding. So, make the critical thinking deliberate and intentional in your courses, or what are your courses. Have it in mind as you design and redesign all facets of the course. So many students are unfamiliar with this approach and are more comfortable with a simple guess of correct answers. So it takes some class time to talk with students about the need to think critically and creatively in your course, and how to and identify what critical thinking entail, what it looks like, and how it would be assessed. So the basic skills like the memorization and observation of facts are essential to learning, but the teacher can challenge your students by developing their higher order thinking skills, identifying reliable information and analyzing the data often or require more complicated thought processes and intentional work. So understanding how to cultivate these skills allows students to participate in advanced learning. So become independent thinker and solve problem in their own. So in this way, it can help the students to think critically, or to cultivate their skills, then allow them to participate in advanced learning, especially now that we are now engaging in this technological world. And higher order thinking skills are thought processes that help you to connect information in the meaningful way and use those connections to solve problems. These thought processes tend to be innovative in that they apply knowledge in new and in a creative way. They go beyond basic memorization and observation of facts and identify reliable information, analyze data, communicate findings, and develop solutions. So, others think that higher order thinking can happen at any stage of learning and growth. However, many professional educators agree that higher order thinking skills are important to consider when developing lesson plan. Yes, providing instruction and assessing students' growth. So, there are types of higher order thinking skills. So if you want to learn more about higher order thinking skills, here are some of the lists that can help you to get started. So the first one is the critical thinking. So critical thinking entails using your own best judgment to understand and evaluate other people's ideas. For example, if you're reading an article in a business journal, You might ask yourself, who wrote this article? What their credentials are? What other writings they've done in the past, and other questions that can help you to assist their ideas. So you may want to encourage your students to apply the critical thinking skills when they're reading industry periodical or online resources to help evaluate what they've just read. So that is a critical thinking. So the second one is the metacognition. So the metacognition involves an awareness of how you think. When students engage in metacognition, they closely examine the process they're using in order to learn and retain new information. So this involves understanding their own strength, such as note-taking, and the weaknesses such as procrastination as a student. So for example, you may have a student who excels at memorizing grammar rules but doesn't always understand how to correctly apply the rules. In this instance, the students may wish to supplement their learning process to include a wide variety of examples so that they understand what they are memorizing. So the next one is the comprehension. The comprehension refers to the process of internalizing materials and understanding the importance of content. Comprehension is a necessary first step for many other higher order thinking skills because it ensures that you're making connection between ideas you have mastered. Just for instance, a student in a law school needs to understand not only which laws exist for certain situations, but how those laws can apply to new situations. So in the same way. So the next one is the application. So in application, as a higher order thinking skills happen when you apply a piece of information that you have attained to a similar issue or project. Just for example, if a students learn the woodworking techniques necessary to craft a bench, they might also be able to apply those same woodworking techniques to craft and similarly design coffee table. So the students can adapt the basic skills they learned in their first project. So that is the application. So when you different other things that you need to apply it with yourself. So that is the application. So let us also discover or discuss the 4Ds. So what is 4Ds? The structured problem solving process, known as 4Ds, also exemplifies the instructional shift in digital learning. So what are these 4Ds? So the first one is define the problem. Second, design the solution. The third is do the work. The fourth, the last, is debrief on the outcome. So the above process allows us to bring the transparency and accountability to all stages of the projects and gain a full understanding of a learner's needs. This approach also provides design team with the opportunity to express themselves and bring genuine creativity in the solution. So the 4D process is a deceptively simple approach designed to be applied to projects of any scale. So from a short digital learning module to bespoke immersive learning experience or major blended learning deployment. So here is a breakdown of how we use the 4Ds to ensure the successful design and development of a training project. So the first one is the design the solution. So before the beginning to implement a solution, it is important to take the time to fully understand the specific challenges and factors in any client ambitions or constraints and strengths. So this can consist of a range of considerations such as a step change in learning, the desire to adapt a new learning technology across the organization, or needing regular communication with knowledgeable subject matter or experts. Learners having limited access to the internet or working remotely. So often there can be the temptation to just get on with it, but experience has shown us the work to design, develop, and effectively deploy the content, and technology will move far faster when understanding by shared goals and understanding. So the constraints of a situation can also act as a pure for the creative team to do their best work and create something genuinely innovative and engaging for learners. So the second one is to define the problem. So the focus of the second stage is to use the insight to create an inspiring learner journey, a blend of learning strategy and engagement techniques that will get to the heart of the audience needs and expectations. So, the integral to the journey is having the right creative approach. To do this, our learning experience designers work in a parallel with our creative and employee engagement team who bring in elements from film, advertising, and behavioral scenes to create a truly compelling learning experience. It takes transparency and stakeholders' engagement at this stage very seriously. So from the very first outline of the journey, overview documents, scripts, and storyboards allow the SMEs to have full visibility of the content and ensure that it is accurate, compliant. For more complex solutions, prototypes let you see how the whole thing come together and allow us to ensure that whatever you preferred platforms of delivery, our content will work seamlessly. So the next one is the do the work. So once we have a shared understanding of the project goals, signed off designs and storyboards, the develop stage is the process of managing production so that we will deliver an outstanding product to the timelines. So the creative approach is implemented across all the elements, overseen by a creative director and a senior learning designer to ensure that the final product is both engaging and effective. And that is meet the expectations set out of the start of the process. So if we are working on live content, such as virtual classroom session. Then we will do a dry runs with your instructors and ensure that they are comfortable with both the materials and the method of delivery. We can then iterate materials accordingly and involve our co-facilitators to give your audience the best possible experience. So the last one is the debrief on the outcome. So classroom settings, a debrief is a teacher guide to the discussion used to help students process what's happening during the experiential learning. So the debrief of the outcome, this is very important because it can help the students to, or it can help the teacher to question the students to, so if they really understand his or her lesson. So there is no point creating a great learning content if nobody know about it. So delivery can be supported by communications and engagement campaigns as required. So we also support the technical side. It also deliver and test content on the platform. And this can be anything from setting up classes and activities or LMS, delivering the unsupportive live delivery. So this is the same as shift from teacher-centered to student-centered learning, which is the new teaching paradigm most appropriate for learning in digital age. So not only the teacher who will the star or who will lead in the class, but also we have the student-centered learning, which the students should also act and do their task in doing a demonstration in the front of their classmates for them to inculcate their learnings or ability or digital in their doing their critical thinking and doing their digital skills in different kinds of aspect, especially in we are learning in this digital age. So nowadays teaching with technology is very important because as the world becoming modern and the students also are engaged in the modern technology. Our global future is developing through communication, collaboration, and innovation with a dependent on technology. So, more of our educational tools right now is more dependent on technology. The teachers also are dependent on technology. The teachers are also knowledgeable and about technology in order for them to impart their knowledge to students and also help students to develop their higher level thinking skills. So it is important for us, especially the new generations, the 21st generation right now, or the millennials. We are living in this dynamic world. When we talk about dynamic world, everything is changing. We're not focusing on our traditional way of education, but we are now in a dynamic world which everything is changing. Sooner, in teaching and learning process, instructional materials will be changed to high technologies which we need higher mastery of the skills. In order that we can teach our students effectively, we need to develop such skills. These these students has different learning styles, and thus we teachers must change also the way we teach in a way that they will be more motivated and will find interest in studying or listening to your lesson, because our students right now are more engaging in technology. So as a teacher, we should also apply this in our teaching skills, because if we are just only focusing in traditional teaching, the students are not more interesting with that, because they are more interesting in this technological world. That's why the teacher also, with the teacher, we should also apply this technological skills in our teaching. And the basic digital skills will help us sooner in our degrees. It is not only a one step. It is not only a stepping stone to achieve and learn new things. We can use it. We can use these skills in our daily lives, which we can also share with our future students, so that they will develop and use such skills. So, as a future teacher, I must seriously aim to the development of the higher level of thinking of my students, so that they will get to develop the six essential skills to become a better digital learners. Also, I will make use of the activities that will make them the solution makers, evaluator, and retriever of information, and collaborative and skeptic in a good way. So in choosing the media and to become the model citizens, so I must see to it that all these skills are in them, and they get to be in conformity with the trend of the world. So that the ends of my lesson, which is the lesson 6. The lesson 6, which is developing basic digital skills, and the lesson 5 also. And this is very important for us, the future teacher and the teacher and the students, because we are now living in this technological world, and we should apply this right now, because our students are very innovative in our new generation right now. So not only the students who will engage with this, but also the instructors or the teacher, because they are the model in the schools, that they are the one to teach the students. And we are in the students learning, and the teachers learning also. So that's all for our report this day, and I hope that we learn a lot from our lessons. You learn a lot from our lessons, and thank you for listening, and God bless everyone. Bye. God bless.